The mechanical room on the 23rd floor existed in a perpetual state of industrial chaos. Pipes hissed overhead, ductwork rattled against metal brackets, and somewhere in the maze of machinery, a bearing
Mr. Thompson, we have a
screamed its
serious
mechanical
problem.
death rattle.
What is it? I'm listening.
There's a
Maya
major
Chen
structural
crouched
issue.
beside
All
the
right,
main
show me.
HVAC control panel, tool belt digging into her hip, hands black with grease that no amount of scrubbing would fully remove tonight. The wrench in her grip had belonged to her mother once, back when both of them were still alive and the world made simpler sense. 11:47 according to the clock mounted above the breaker box. 13 minutes until midnight. 13 minutes until the quarterly systems report had to land in Garrett Cross's inbox, or she'd spend tomorrow morning explaining to executives who'd never held a wrench why critical infrastructure couldn't be summarized in a 3-bullet email. Coffee went cold in a Steel Industries mug balanced on a transformer housing. Some safety violation probably, but Maya had stopped counting those around hour 9 of her shift. The radio wedged between two pipe joints played Christmas music at low volume, all jingle bells and false cheer, while she bled another year into fixing problems that shouldn't exist in a $4 billion building. Her phone buzzed. The screen showed 47% battery and a text from her father. "Don't work too late. Building will still be broken tomorrow." True enough, the HVAC system would fail again next week, and the week after that, because Patricia Harmon kept slashing maintenance budgets to pad quarterly reports. Maya had learned to patch and pray, extending the life of equipment that should have been replaced 3 years ago. The executives never saw the duct tape and improvised repairs holding their empire together. They just expected heat in winter and cool air in summer, delivered by invisible hands they'd never bothered to learn belonged to actual people. She typed back, "Almost done. Love you." The control panel finally surrendered its secrets. Pressure differential in the east wing indicated a failing damper actuator, exactly as she'd suspected. Maya made notes on her tablet, fingers leaving smudges across the screen. Technical language for the report. Actuator replacement required. Estimated downtime 4 hours. Recommend weekend installation to minimize disruption. Translation for executives who wouldn't read past the summary. Your building is held together with hope and my overtime. Garrett Cross had requested this report personally, the CEO himself, bypassing 3 layers of management to email her directly at 9 p.m. with a subject line that read simply, "Need full systems analysis by midnight. Investor meeting 6 a.m. No pleas, no context, just the assumption that she'd drop everything because a billionaire had decided to notice her existence for 30 seconds. Maya had met him exactly once, 6 months ago during the 15th floor crisis, when the server room nearly overheated badly enough to cook $100 million in data. She'd been elbow deep in a failing cooling manifold when he'd appeared, dark suit somehow staying pristine in the mechanical carnage, asking questions that proved he actually understood load calculations and thermal dynamics. Most executives couldn't find the mechanical room with GPS and a guide dog. Garrett Cross had known which questions to ask and listened to her answers without the usual condescension reserved for people who worked with their hands. Then he'd disappeared back to the executive floor, and she'd gone back to being invisible. Until tonight. Her laptop sat propped against a junction box, screen displaying the nearly complete report. 3 PDFs attached: main systems analysis, quarterly maintenance log, HVAC schematics marked up with her notes. Everything organized, professional, exactly what he'd asked for. Maya opened her email and started composing. "Mr. Cross, please find attached the requested building systems analysis. Critical issues flagged in red require immediate attention. Complete assessment and recommendations included. Maya Chen, Senior Building Engineer." Short, direct, no wasted words. She attached the 3 files and reached for the send button. Mr. Whiskers chose that moment to make his presence known. The cat appeared from behind a transformer bank like an orange ghost, meowing his displeasure at being ignored. Maya had brought him to work exactly twice, both times during overnight shifts when loneliness felt heavier than tools. He wound between her ankles, demanding attention with the entitlement only cats possessed. Her hand moved to pet him. The coffee mug wobbled. Dark liquid sloshed over the rim and splashed across the laptop keyboard. Maya jerked back, hand slipping on the mousepad in exactly the wrong direction. The cursor jumped, clicked. The screen flashed. Your message has been sent. Time stopped. Maya stared at the confirmation notification, brain refusing to process what her eyes were seeing. Sent. Past tense. Irreversible. She grabbed the laptop, ignoring the coffee dripping onto her work pants, and opened the sent folder with fingers that had started to shake. The email sat there, timestamp reading 11:03 p.m. Recipient, Garrett Cross, CEO. 3 attachments visible in the preview pane. building_vac_vAC_schematics.xls_xig_2847.jpg. The third file name hit like a fist to the sternum. Image file, not a PDF, not a schematic. A photo from her personal folder that had no business being anywhere near a professional email. Maya's stomach dropped into freefall. She clicked the attachment with mounting dread. The image loaded slowly, pixel by agonizing pixel, revealing exactly what she'd feared. Herself. 2 weeks ago. Standing in front of her bedroom mirror in the only nice dress she owned, black fabric that actually fit for once, hair down instead of pulled back in the eternal ponytail. She'd been getting ready for her father's birthday dinner and wanted to see if she looked presentable for the restaurant. Not lingerie, not inappropriate. Just a moment of vulnerability she'd captured and forgot to delete because her phone storage was a disaster of documentation photos and forgotten screenshots. But definitely not something her CEO should ever see. The photo showed her smiling slightly, uncertain, human in a way she never allowed herself at work, where being small and invisible kept her safe from the attention of men with power. In that moment, she'd looked almost pretty, almost confident, almost like someone who belonged in nice places instead of mechanical rooms at midnight. And now, Garrett Cross had it in his inbox. Maya's first instinct was denial. Maybe the attachment hadn't actually sent. Internet glitches happened. The building's Wi-Fi was garbage. Mercury was in retrograde, or whatever astrological excuse people used when the universe decided to destroy them. She checked. All 4 files showed successful delivery. Complete upload. No errors. Anger came next, hot and useless. She wanted to scream at Mr. Whiskers, who'd returned to grooming himself with complete indifference to the apocalypse he'd caused. Wanted to throw the laptop against the wall. Wanted to go back in time 3 minutes and choose a different moment to check her email. Instead, she searched desperately for solutions. How to unsend email into Google. The results were depressing. Once sent, emails were irreversible outside of specific corporate systems, and Steel Industries used standard protocols that offered no recall function after transmission. She considered breaking into the server room and physically destroying the hard drives. Dramatic but impractical given her complete lack of hacking skills and the presence of security cameras. She considered faking her own death, moving to Alaska, changing her name, becoming someone who'd never sent a personal photo to a billionaire CEO at 11 p.m. on a Monday. Then depression settled in, heavy and familiar. Maya sat on the concrete floor, Mr. Whiskers climbing into her lap, and faced the reality that she'd just destroyed her own career. Tomorrow morning, Garrett Cross would open that email, see the photo, and conclude she was either incompetent or inappropriate, or both. Human Resources would call, Security would escort her out. She'd lose the apartment, couldn't help with her father's medical bills, would have to explain to every future employer why her last position had ended so abruptly. All because of one slipped click and a cat with terrible timing. Maya checked the email timestamp again, sent at 11:03 p.m. She pulled up Garrett Cross's email profile. It showed him as active, online, working at nearly midnight like her. The read receipt appeared while she watched. Read 11:07 p.m. 4 minutes. He'd seen it in 4 minutes. Her phone stayed silent. No furious reply, no termination notice. Just the terrible knowledge that somewhere 30 floors above her, in an office she'd only seen once, Garrett Cross was looking at a photo she'd never meant for anyone's eyes but her own. Snow started falling outside the narrow window set high in the mechanical room wall. First snow of December, fat flakes drifting past industrial glass, turning the city into something cleaner than it deserved to be. Maya watched the weather change and understood her world had just done the same. She packed up her tools slowly. Mr. Whiskers went back into his carrier. The mechanical room would still be broken tomorrow. The building would still need her. But nothing would be the same after tonight. The subway ride home to Queens took 40 minutes through empty cars and stations decorated with tired tinsel. Her studio apartment greeted her with a radiator that clanked but produced minimal heat. One room that held her entire life. Bills stacked on the kitchenette counter in order of urgency. Mr. Whiskers disappeared under the bed. Maya sat at her desk and stared at her laptop screen, rereading the sent email over and over like a confession she couldn't take back. At 11:32 p.m., a new message appeared. From Garrett Cross. Subject, REIT, Building Systems Analysis. Her hand hovered over the mouse. Part of her wanted to delete it unread, preserve some fragment of denial. Part of her needed to know. She clicked. Miss Chen, see me at 7 a.m. Office. G.C. 10 words. No mention of the photo. No rage, no dismissal. Just a summons. Maya read it 3 times looking for subtext and found only questions. Sleep proved impossible. She lay in bed watching ceiling shadows shift, running through scenarios. Best case? He'd decided to be professional, ignore the mistake, pretend it never happened. Worst case? He wanted to fire her in person. Most likely case? Something in between that would leave her unemployed and humiliated. Her alarm went off at 5:30. Maya had been awake for hours. She dressed carefully, steel-toed work boots worn soft with years of use, cargo pants with reinforced knees, company polo shirt that made her look like exactly what she was. Facility staff, working class, someone who belonged in mechanical rooms instead of executive suites. Her reflection showed dark circles under eyes, hair pulled into the same tight ponytail she'd worn for 6 years. Hands still carrying traces of grease no soap could fully erase. The snow had continued through the night. 6 inches covered Queens, more falling steadily, turning the pre-dawn world into monochrome silence. Maya walked to the subway through fresh powder, boots leaving the first tracks on her street. Steel Industries rose 30 floors into the gray morning, glass and steel, and the weight of $4 billion in assets. Maya had entered through the service entrance every day for 6 years. Today, she rode the main elevator up to the executive floor, surrounded by lawyers and VPs in suits that cost more than her monthly rent. Their conversations died when she stepped in, tool belt and work clothes marking her as out of place. She stared at the floor numbers and pretended not to notice. The executive floor smelled like expensive coffee and new carpet. Glass offices lined a central corridor, each one a display of wealth and power. Maya's boots tracked melting snow across floors that someone else would clean. She'd never been up here except for the server crisis, and that had been at 3 a.m. when the executive suite was empty. Now it hummed with early morning activity. Assistants arranged files, conference rooms filled with people whose salaries had commas Maya's didn't. Everyone looked at her, this working-class intruder in their kingdom of polish and credentials. Garrett Cross's office occupied the northeast corner. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered views of Manhattan, still white with new snow. The door was closed. Maya stood outside, hand raised to knock, courage failing. The door opened from inside. A small face appeared at knee height. 6 years old, dark hair in tangles, wearing a school uniform that looked expensive and uncomfortable. Brown eyes studied Maya with the intensity only children possessed. The girl spoke first. "Hi. You're pretty." Maya blinked, completely thrown. No scenario she'd imagined had included a child. She crouched automatically to eye level, tool belt clinking. "Hi, I'm Maya. What are you drawing?" The girl held up a coloring book showing elaborate snowflakes, each one different, crayon work careful and precise. "Snowflakes. They're all different, Daddy says. Like people." "I'm Lily." "That's beautiful, Lily. You're very good at staying in the lines." Lily beamed. Behind her, visible through the open door, Garrett Cross sat behind a desk that probably cost more than Maya's car. He was watching their interaction with an expression she couldn't read. His voice cut across the moment. "Lily, color at the table. I need to speak with Miss Chen." "Okay, Daddy." Lily returned to a low table scattered with crayons and paper. The girl settled into her work with the easy obedience of someone who knew when adults meant business. Maya entered the office. Garrett stood, dark suit perfect despite the early hour, not a hair out of place. 35, according to her mental file, though he carried himself with the authority of someone older. His eyes were gray in the winter light, calculating and careful. "Miss Chen, close the door." She obeyed. The door clicked shut, suddenly trapping her in this expensive box with a man who held her professional life in his hands. Lily hummed quietly at her coloring table, providing the world's least appropriate audience for a termination meeting. Garrett didn't sit. Neither did Maya. They faced each other across 10 feet of imported hardwood flooring and fundamental power imbalance. "Your report was excellent." His voice stayed level, controlled. "You identified 3 critical failures I didn't know existed." Maya processed this. Not fired yet, possibly not fired at all. She managed, "Thank you, sir. The HVAC analysis was particularly thorough. You clearly understand these systems better than anyone on my engineering staff. I've worked with them for 6 years. It shows." He paused, and she saw the shift happening, the transition from professional assessment to personal territory. However, there was a fourth attachment. Heat flooded Maya's face. Lily looked up from her coloring, sensing tension the way children always did. Garrett pulled his phone from his pocket, turned the screen toward Maya at an angle where Lily couldn't see. The photo glowed between them. Her in the black dress, vulnerable and human, and completely inappropriate for this moment. His voice stayed quiet. "Do you make a habit of mixing personal with professional, Miss Chen?" "It was an accident." The words came out rushed, defensive. "I would never intentionally—" "I know." He cut her off cleanly. "Your work record is impeccable. 6 years, 0 disciplinary issues, solved problems no one else could identify. 3 commendations from facilities management." He'd looked her up, reviewed her file, knew her employment history better than she'd expected. Maya's hands found her tool belt, muscle memory seeking comfort in familiar weight. "I'm very sorry, Mr. Cross. If there's anything I can do to... There's not. Another pause, this one heavier. I liked what I saw. The world tilted. Maya's brain stuttered over the words, trying to parse meaning, failing to reconcile them with reality. Lily's crayon scratched across paper in the silence. Garrett continued, voice maddeningly calm. The photo showed someone confident. Real. Not the engineer who avoids eye contact in meetings and hides in mechanical rooms. That's... Maya struggled for words. Inappropriate, sir. Extremely. No apology in his tone. But I don't play games, Ms. Chen. I wanted you to know. Lily's voice broke through, innocent and oblivious. Daddy, is she in trouble? Garrett's expression softened fractionally. No, sweetheart. Ms. Chen is very good at her job. He looked back at Maya, and she saw something in his eyes she hadn't expected. Interest, maybe. Honesty, definitely. The kind of direct assessment she'd learned to recognize in people who valued competence over pretense. You keep your position. Nothing changes professionally. But I wanted you to be aware that the photo was received and appreciated. Maya should have protested, should have demanded he delete it, contacted HR, established boundaries. Instead, she stood there in her work boots and tool belt, staring at a man who'd just broken every professional protocol and somehow made it sound reasonable. That's all. Dismissal clear in his tone. You can go. She turned toward the door, legs uncertain. Lily looked up from her snowflakes. Bye, Maya. Will you come back? The question landed with unexpected weight. Maya glanced at Garrett, who nodded fractionally. Permission or challenge? She couldn't tell which. Maybe, sweetheart. I hope so. Millie returned to her coloring, pronouncement delivered with the certainty of 6-year-old wisdom. Maya left. The door closed behind her. She made it to the elevator before her hands started shaking properly. Adrenaline crash hitting delayed but thorough. The descent to the mechanical rooms took 30 floors and felt like falling through dimensions. Carlos from janitorial services found her 20 minutes later, sitting on a transformer housing, staring at nothing. You okay, Maya? Yeah, just thinking. Heard the CEO called you up early. Everything good? Everything's fine. A lie, maybe. Or truth she hadn't processed yet. Carlos left her alone. Maya eventually returned to work, fixing pipes and checking systems and trying not to think about gray eyes and impossible words. The week continued. Maya kept her head down, avoided the executive floors, focused on equipment that made sense because it followed physical laws instead of human logic. The HVAC system required constant attention. Pressure sensors failed. Dampers stuck. She worked late most nights, grateful for problems that had solutions. Friday afternoon found her 3 floors underground, tracing an anomaly in the building automation system. Someone had accessed the climate controls remotely, adjusting settings in patterns that made no engineering sense. Cooling capacity ramped up during off hours. Heat cycled randomly through empty floors. Small changes, individually meaningless, collectively concerning. Maya documented everything. Screenshots of access logs, timestamps, configuration files altered without authorization. The pattern suggested intentional sabotage rather than software glitches, though proving intent required more expertise than she possessed. She reported it to Patricia Harmon first, chain of command. The VP of Operations listened with barely concealed impatience. You're being paranoid, Ms. Chen. I probably pushed updates. With respect, these aren't update patterns. Someone's deliberately destabilizing the system. Deliberately. Patricia's tone dripped condescension. You think someone's hacking our building controls? I think someone with access is making unauthorized changes that could cause serious problems. Stick to fixing air conditioning, Ms. Chen. Leave IT security to people who understand it. The dismissals stung worse than insults. Maya kept her expression neutral. Years of practice hiding anger behind professional courtesy. Of course, Miss Harmon. Should I document this for— No need, I'm sure it's nothing. Meeting over. Maya left Patricia's office with evidence still on her tablet and growing certainty that something was wrong. If the changes continued, if the sabotage escalated, the building systems could fail catastrophically during peak load. Server crashes, data loss, millions in damages. She made a decision that broke every protocol she'd followed for 6 years. The executive floor again. Maya didn't announce herself this time, just marched past Garrett Cross's assistant with the determination of someone who'd stopped caring about consequences. Miss Chen, you can't just— Too late. She was already pushing through the door. Garrett sat in conference with 3 men in expensive suits, presentation materials spread across his desk. He looked up, surprise flickering across his face before control reasserted itself. Miss Chen, this better be important. It is. Maya held up her tablet. Someone's sabotaging our building systems. The investors exchanged glances. Patricia Harmon, present for the meeting, went rigid with fury. Mr. Cross, I apologize. Miss Chen has some misguided concerns about routine IT. Show me. Garrett's command cut through Patricia's explanation. He gestured to Maya. Everything. She approached the desk. The investors watched with varying degrees of curiosity and annoyance. Maya laid out the evidence methodically. Access logs, configuration changes, timeline analysis. Her hands stayed steady despite the audience, confidence rooted in technical expertise she knew was sound. Someone with Level 3 system access has been altering climate controls over the past 2 weeks. Small changes, gradual escalation. If they continue this pattern, we'll experience catastrophic cooling failure during your investor conference next Thursday. Garrett studied the data. His questions came sharp and informed, proving again that he actually understood building infrastructure. Probability of failure? 80% if the sabotage continues, 95% if they accelerate. Damage estimate? 3 million in data loss minimum, plus facility downtime, reputation damage, potential injuries if the server room overheats badly enough. One of the investors cleared his throat. Is she always this dramatic? Garrett's response came cold. Ms. Chen's assessments are never dramatic. She understates, if anything. He turned to Patricia. Why wasn't I informed? Because it's IT maintenance blown out of— Ms. Chen's been here 6 years. She knows these systems better than anyone. If she says there's sabotage, I believe her. The words landed like validation Maya hadn't known she needed. Patricia's expression promised future retaliation. The investors shifted uncomfortably. Garrett made his decision. Gentlemen, we'll resume in 30 minutes. Dismissal clear. The investors filed out. Patricia lingered. Sir, with respect, elevating maintenance concerns to executive— Out. Single word, absolute authority. Patricia left, fury radiating. The door closed. Garrett turned full attention to Maya. Tell me everything. Don't leave anything out. She did. Technical details, security implications, the growing certainty that this was personal targeting rather than random hacking. Garrett listened without interruption, gray eyes focused and calculating. When she finished, he picked up his phone. Dan, my office. Now. 2 minutes later, Dan Rivera entered. Security chief, ex-military by his bearing, scarred hands that had seen combat. He nodded to Maya with professional courtesy. Garrett briefed him in efficient sentences. Dan took notes, asked questions that proved tactical training. Can you trace the access point? Maya nodded. External IP address. I can pull the logs, but actual identity requires higher clearance than I have. Get them. Garrett's order encompassed both of them. Dan, full investigation. I want to know who, how, and why by Monday. Sir. Dan's acknowledgement carried military precision. Miss Chen, you're temporarily assigned to secure. Work directly with Dan. Clearance upgraded as of now. Maya blinked. I'm facilities, not. You're whatever I need you to be. And right now I need someone who understands building systems and thinks 3 steps ahead. Dan studied her. You notice anything else unusual? Personnel changes, access patterns, anything? No, but I can review. A sound from the corner made all 3 of them turn. A small voice, sleep-heavy and confused. Daddy? Lily stood beside the couch Maya hadn't noticed, rubbing her eyes. The girl had been napping under a jacket, invisible in the conference chaos. She looked tiny in the expensive office, vulnerable in ways that made Maya's chest tighten. Garrett's entire demeanor shifted, voice softening. Hey, sweetheart, did we wake you? I'm hungry. I know. Just a few more minutes, okay? Lily noticed Maya then. Her face brightened. Maya, you came back. Before anyone could stop her, the girl ran across the office and wrapped small arms around Maya's legs. 6 years old and trusting in the way children were before the world taught them caution. Maya looked at Garrett over Lily's head, uncertain. He was watching them with an expression that held layers she couldn't decode. Something vulnerable beneath the CEO mask, something that looked like longing mixed with pain. Lily, let Miss Chen work. The girl didn't let go. Are you staying for dinner? Maya floundered. Dan was definitely not hiding his amusement. Garrett made the decision for her. Miss Chen probably has plans, sweetheart. Lily looked up, and Maya saw genuine hope in those brown eyes, the kind of hope that came from a child who'd learned that most adults left. The smart response was declining. Professional boundaries, appropriate distance, all the rules Maya had followed to stay invisible and safe. Instead, she heard herself say, Actually, I don't have plans. Lily squealed. Garrett's expression flickered through surprise to something carefully neutral. Then join us. It's the least I can do after you've spent the afternoon protecting my company. Dan's phone buzzed. He checked it, face going serious. Boss, we have a problem. Someone tried accessing the server room 5 minutes ago. Failed authentication, but they're still in the building. All warmth drained from Garrett's voice. Lock it down. Full security sweep. Already moving. Dan headed for the door, paused. Miss Chen, I need those access logs. Tonight, if possible. I'll send them within the hour. He left. Lily was still attached to Maya's legs, chattering about something that happened at school. Garrett stood behind his desk, powerful and composed, except for the tension visible in his shoulders. The weight of running an empire and raising a daughter alone. Both responsibilities crushing in their own ways. Maya made eye contact across the expensive office, saw him really looking at her, seeing past the work clothes and dirty hands to whatever he'd recognized in that accidental photo. Confidence. Reality. Someone who fixed things instead of breaking them. 7 o'clock, he said. Dan will give you my address. I know where you live. The words came out before she could stop them. His eyebrow rose fractionally. Do you? Building systems include penthouse environmental controls. I maintain your HVAC. Of course you do. Almost a smile. Almost. Maya extracted herself from Lily's embrace with promises to return. She left the office, rode the elevator down to familiar depths, and tried to process the day's impossible turns. Morning had started with expected termination. Evening would end with dinner at a billionaire's penthouse because a 6-year-old had asked. Her phone buzzed. Text from her father. "How's work?" Maya stared at the message. How to explain that work had become something unrecognizable? That her CEO had seen her photo and responded with honesty instead of harassment? That she was being pulled into security investigations and dinner invitations with equal inevitability? She texted back, "Complicated. Tell you later." The access logs took 3 hours to compile properly. Maya worked from her tiny studio apartment, Mr. Whiskers observing from the desk, coffee going cold beside her laptop. The data painted a clear picture. Someone with intimate knowledge of building systems was preparing for major sabotage. The investor conference was target zero, timing too precise for coincidence. She encrypted the files and sent them to Dan Rivera at 6:45. His reply came instantly. "Good work. Boss is expecting you." Maya changed clothes. Not the black dress from the photo, but clean jeans and a sweater that didn't smell like machine oil. She studied her reflection, seeing the same worn face and tired eyes, wondering what Garrett Cross saw that made him look twice. The subway to Tribeca took 30 minutes. Snow had stopped, leaving the city clean and temporary. Garrett's building rose in glass and steel, doorman-guarded wealth visible from the street. Maya announced herself, received clearance, rode a private elevator to the penthouse level. The doors opened directly into his home. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed Manhattan in all directions. Minimalist furniture, expensive art, everything perfect and cold and utterly unlike her cramped studio. Maya stepped into wealth so profound, it felt alien. Her boots tracking melting snow across hardwood that probably cost more per square foot than her monthly rent. Lily appeared first, running at full speed. "You're here! I helped make dinner!" Behind her, Garrett emerged from what must be the kitchen. He'd changed from the suit, now wearing dark slacks and a button-down with sleeves rolled to his elbows. More human somehow, less CEO. He carried a bowl of something that smelled like marinara. "Miss Chen, welcome." "Maya." The correction came automatically. "Outside work, I mean." "Maya." He tested the name, voice doing something that made her stomach flip. Lily insisted on helping with pasta. "I hope you don't mind marinara everywhere." "I love marinara." Lily grabbed her hand, small fingers sticky with sauce. "Come see, we made it ourselves." The kitchen told a story of attempted domesticity by someone clearly uncomfortable with cooking. Pasta boiled in a pot, watched by a private chef who looked relieved Maya had arrived. Sauce covered multiple surfaces. Lily beamed with pride at the chaos. "Did you make all this?" "Daddy helped, but I did the stirring." Garrett caught Maya's eye over his daughter's head. His expression held exhaustion and affection and something that looked like apology for dragging her into this domestic scene, but also gratitude, raw and unguarded, for someone who looked at Lily with genuine interest instead of polite tolerance. Dinner happened at the kitchen island rather than formal dining. The chef had vanished, leaving them alone with overcooked pasta and sauce that tasted like love despite technical flaws. Lily chattered between bites, talking about school and friends and a music box that didn't work anymore. Daddy said he'd buy a new one, but I like my old one. It plays Mommy's song. The temperature in the room changed. Garrett went very still, expression shuddering. Maya understood immediately. Grief that lived beneath everything. Wounds that never fully healed. "What's wrong with it?" Professional question, safe territory. Lily brightened. "The spinny part doesn't spin. It just makes clicking noises." "That's probably the spring mechanism. Pretty easy fix usually." Garrett was watching her now, calculation visible behind careful neutrality. Can you really fix it? Maybe. I'd have to see it. Lily was already scrambling down from her stool. I'll get it! She disappeared down a hallway. Garrett spoke quietly, voice carrying weight. You don't have to do this. I want to. Truth, simple and complete. Lily returned with a wooden music box, delicate and clearly treasured. Maya opened it carefully. The mechanism inside showed years of use, spring tension lost, gears misaligned. Nothing catastrophic. She pulled her multi-tool from her pocket, always present, always ready, and began the careful work of realignment. Garrett watched her hands move with practiced efficiency. Lily leaned close, fascinated by the small gears and springs revealed. You carry tools everywhere? Everywhere. Maya didn't look up from the delicate work. Never know when something needs fixing. 10 minutes of careful adjustment. She wound the spring, tested resistance, made final tweaks. The mechanism caught. Music began, tinkling and sweet, melody filling the expensive kitchen with something warm. Lily's face transformed. You fixed it! Garrett's expression did something complicated. Recognition, maybe, or realization. His voice came rough. Thank you. It's just a spring. It's her mother's song. The words hung between them, heavy with significance Maya was only beginning to understand. She'd crossed some invisible line tonight, from employee to something else. Someone who'd been invited into the private spaces where Garrett Cross was father instead of CEO, vulnerable instead of controlled. Lily hugged her, fierce and grateful. Over the child's head, Maya met Garrett's eyes. Saw him looking at her like she'd performed magic instead of basic repair work. Like competence was attraction and fixing broken things was the straightest path to his guarded heart. The music box played on. Outside the windows, Manhattan glittered in winter darkness. And Maya Chen, who'd spent 6 years invisible in mechanical rooms, understood that nothing would be simple anymore. The electrical panel trap happened 3 nights after the music box. Maya discovered it during a routine basement inspection, midnight shift, when the building settled into minimal occupancy. Someone had stripped wire insulation on the main junction box, left exposed copper positioned precisely where tired hands might reach without looking. Professional work, calculated to appear accidental. The kind of death that would get ruled workplace negligence instead of murder. She'd spotted it only because 6 years of paranoia made her check everything twice. The voltage running through those bare wires would have stopped her heart instantly. Dan Rivera's team secured the scene within minutes. Garrett arrived 20 minutes later, still wearing the suit from whatever late meeting he'd been conducting. His face went pale when Dan showed him the setup, pointed out the kill zone Maya had narrowly avoided. The words came out controlled but brittle. This was meant for you. Maya stood against the concrete wall, hands shaking with delayed adrenaline. Guess someone doesn't like my building inspections. This isn't funny. I know. Her voice cracked slightly. Believe me, I know. Garrett crossed the space between them, stopped close enough that she could see real fear breaking through his careful composure. You're not working alone anymore. Ever. I can handle. Someone just tried to electrocute you. The volume rose fractionally before he caught it, forced it back down. This isn't about your capability. Dan's phone buzzed. He stepped away to answer, leaving them in the harsh fluorescent wash of basement lighting. Maya's tool belt suddenly felt heavy. Reminder that she lived in a world where competence couldn't stop someone from turning her workplace into a death trap. Garrett's jaw worked like he was chewing words too dangerous to release. Finally, you're staying at my place.
tonight, until we identify who did this. It's not negotiable. His hand came up, almost touched her shoulder, dropped. Please, Maya. Don't make me watch you take risks I can't protect against. The please broke through her resistance. She'd never heard him use that word, never seen him ask instead of command. Dan returned before she could formulate response. Boss, we need to talk. Private. They moved to a corner. Maya couldn't hear the conversation, but watched Garrett's expression darken, watched him pull out his phone and make calls that sounded like mobilization. When he returned, decision already made, she understood protest would be useless. Pack a bag. Dan will take you to get your things. You're staying with me until this threat is neutralized. For how long? However long it takes. 2 hours later, Maya stood in Garrett's penthouse guest room, small duffel bag containing 3 days of clothes, looking pathetic against luxury furnishings. Mr. Whiskers explored from his carrier, unimpressed by wealth. Through the wall, she could hear Garrett moving around, the domestic sounds of someone preparing for sleep they probably wouldn't get. Her phone showed a text from her father. Building superintendent said you're staying elsewhere. Everything okay? She typed, work situation. Safe. We'll explain soon. The lie felt necessary. Her father would worry regardless, but details about assassination attempts and billionaire protectors seemed too surreal for midnight texts. Sleep came eventually, exhaustion overriding anxiety. Maya woke to sounds she couldn't immediately place, childish giggling mixed with masculine frustration. Early morning light filtered through curtains she'd forgotten to close. 6 a.m. according to her phone. Time to get up for work, except she had no idea what the protocol was for house guests who'd narrowly avoided workplace electrocution. The sounds continued. She pulled on jeans and a sweatshirt, followed the noise to the main living area. Garrett stood behind Billy at the kitchen island, YouTube tutorial playing on his tablet propped against the fruit bowl. His hands worked through his daughter's dark hair with the uncertain movements of someone attempting surgery without training. Lily squirmed on the stool, small shoulders hunching away from each tug. Daddy, you're pulling! I know, sweetheart. Hold still. The video makes it look easy. It hurts! Almost done. Just need to... Damn it! The attempted braid had become a tangled mess. Garrett's frustration radiated visible enough that Maya almost retreated unseen. But Lily spotted her first. Maya! Pure relief. Can you help? Daddy's really bad at braids. Garrett looked up, caught between embarrassment and exhaustion. Hair slightly mussed, shirt wrinkled from yesterday, tie discarded somewhere. More human than she'd seen him. More vulnerable. I'm following instructions. His defense came weak even to his own ears. May I? Maya approached slowly, giving him space to refuse. He stepped aside without protest. Maya slid into position behind Lily, fingers finding the tangled sections with practiced ease. The girl's hair felt soft, smelled like expensive shampoo and childhood. Where'd you learn this? The question came quiet behind her. Maya started working tangles free, movements automatic from years of self-sufficiency. Had to do my own hair after my mother died. Got good at it. Lily twisted to look back. Your mommy died too? When I was 16. Cancer. Mine died in a car. Matter-of-fact delivery, the way children stated terrible truths. I was really little. I don't remember her good. Maya's hands paused, met Garrett's eyes over his daughter's head, saw him absorbing the parallel, recognizing shared grief as potential connection. I bet she was wonderful. Daddy says I look like her. Lily settled as Maya's fingers found their rhythm. He gets sad when he says it, though. The admission hung naked and honest,
Garrett's expression did something painful. He turned away, ostensibly checking his phone, really gathering composure that had scattered under his daughter's casual observation. Maya finished the braid quickly, muscle memory making it perfect without thought. Lily jumped down to check herself in the hallway mirror, delighted squeal echoing back. "It's so good! Can you do it every day?" Garrett's response came too fast. "Miss Chen is just staying temporarily while—" Both females turned identical, skeptical looks his direction. The combined force made him stop mid-sentence, realization crossing his face that he'd walked into a losing battle.
"We'll see," replaced the objection.
Diplomatic retreat. Lily accepted victory gracefully, grabbing her backpack. "Time for school. Maya, will you come with us? I need to get to work. Dan's orders are that you don't go anywhere alone." Garrett's interjection carried apology and firmness equally. "That includes the office. You're working from here until we clear the threat." "I can't do building inspections from a penthouse."
"You can review access logs, coordinate with Dan's investigation, and stay alive."
He grabbed his suit jacket from the back of a chair. Non-negotiable, remember? Lily bounced between them. "So you're coming. We can drop you after school." Maya looked between father and daughter, seeing the same determined jaw on both faces, recognizing that resistance was futile when they aligned forces. "Fine, but I'm not great with kids." Lily laughed. "You're way better than Daddy."
Garrett's SUV had diplomatic immunity from physics, navigating morning traffic with the confidence money provided. Maya sat in back beside Lily's car seat, watching Manhattan slide past tinted windows. The girl chattered about classmates and teachers and some drama involving stolen crayons that apparently constituted major crisis at 6 years old. The private academy materialized in Midtown, brick and privilege announced by iron gates and landscaping that cost more than Maya's yearly salary. Parents in luxury vehicles formed a careful queue, each one releasing uniformed children to the care of staff who knew their names and allergies and which divorces had custody arrangements. Garrett pulled into the drop-off lane. Lily unbuckled herself with practiced efficiency, leaned over to kiss his cheek. "Bye, Daddy. Bye, Maya." "Have a good day, sweetheart." Lily paused at the door. "Maya, will you pick me up? Please?" The question blindsided them both. Garrett's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Maya saw other parents watching through expensive sunglasses, judging, calculating.
"Your nanny usually, but I want you." Lily's lip trembled slightly. Manipulation or genuine need, impossible to tell with children. Garrett looked at Maya in the rearview mirror, asking permission, giving her an exit if she wanted it. She found herself nodding. 3 o'clock? 3 o'clock. Lily's smile returned full force before she bounded into the building, backpack nearly toppling her. The silence in the SUV felt loaded. Garrett merged back into traffic, didn't speak until they'd gone several blocks. "You don't have to do this." "I know. She's getting attached." "I noticed." "That scares me." The admission came raw. "When you leave, because you will leave eventually, she'll be devastated. Again." Maya watched his reflection in the side mirror, seeing tension in shoulders that carried too many responsibilities. "Maybe I won't leave." The SUV swerved slightly before he corrected. His eyes found hers in the mirror, searching for meaning in words she'd delivered too casually to be casual. "Don't make promises about things you can't predict." Fair enough. They rode the rest of the way in silence that felt less hostile than thoughtful. Garrett's phone rang 6 times, each call he rejected with increasing irritation. The 7th he answered. "What? When?" "Keep him contained. I'll be there in 10. He hung up, made an illegal U-turn that had drivers honking. Change of plans.
Security caught someone trying to access the server room. The saboteur? Maybe. Dan's holding him. Maya found herself swept back to Steel Industries, deposited in a conference room adjacent to security, while Garrett and Dan interrogated their suspect. Through the glass, she could see a young man, mid-20s, terrified and sweating. It's contractor, according to the visitor badge still clipped to his shirt. The interrogation took 2 hours. Maya worked through access logs on a borrowed laptop, cross-referencing timestamps and personnel records. The patterns became clearer with each spreadsheet. Someone with intimate system knowledge had been methodically preparing for catastrophic failure. The investor conference was still the target, timing too precise for anything but deliberate attack. Garrett emerged, looking grim. His name is Jake Morrison, contracted IT administrator. Gambling debts, needed cash, got contacted by someone offering money to install back doors in our system. Did he give a name? Marcus Webb. The name meant nothing to Maya. Garrett's expression said it meant everything. He's my ex-business partner. 3 years ago, I exposed him for embezzling $2 billion from our joint ventures. He lost his empire, his reputation, his freedom for 18 months. Got out 6 months ago, and he wants revenge. He wants to destroy everything I've built. The company, my credibility, my life. Garrett's jaw worked. Jake says Marcus is planning a major systems attack during the investor conference. Crash our infrastructure, humiliate us publicly, tank the stock price. Can we stop it? We can now. Jake's cooperating for a plea deal. He'll help us trace Marcus's operation, identify his team, shut this down before it happens. Relief should have come. Instead, Maya felt cold certainty that this wouldn't be simple. Dan appeared in the doorway. Boss, we have a problem. Morrison says Marcus has contingency plans. If the building attack fails, he moves to personal targets. The temperature dropped. Garrett went very still, predator recognizing threat. What kind of personal targets? People you care about. Dan's expression stayed carefully neutral, but his meaning landed clear. He's been watching you. Knows about the engineer who's been staying at your place. Knows about increased security around Lily. Maya's stomach dropped. She'd become a liability just by proximity. Garrett's response came deadly quiet. Then we end this. Now. I want Marcus Webb's location by tonight. We're working on it. Work faster. The afternoon dissolved into tactical planning. Dan's team tracked digital breadcrumbs, followed money trails, interviewed associates. Maya provided technical expertise on building vulnerabilities, helped identify secondary targets Marcus might exploit. The work was engaging enough to distract from the growing awareness that she'd stumbled into a war she hadn't chosen. 3 o'clock arrived too quickly. Maya found herself in Garrett's SUV again, pulling into the private academy pickup lane. Other parents stared more openly this time, recognizing her from morning drop-off. A woman in yoga clothes and diamonds leaned toward her companion, whispered something that made both of them smile. The judgment felt familiar. Maya had spent her life on the wrong side of class divides, marked as less than by circumstances of birth. Being here, in this vehicle, waiting for this child, it painted her as something specific in their eyes. Nanny, maybe. Gold digger, probably. Definitely not peer. Lily emerged in a cluster of uniformed children, spotted the SUV immediately, waved enthusiastically. Her joy at seeing Maya cut through social anxiety like a blade. The girl climbed into her car seat, already talking. "We did art today. I made a picture for you." She thrust crumpled construction paper forward. Maya took it carefully, studied the crayon drawing of 3 stick figures labeled Daddy, Maya, and Lily. They were holding hands. A house with a triangle roof stood behind them, something in Maya's chest compressed. She looked at Garrett, who was staring at the drawing with an expression that cycled through several emotions too quickly to name. "It's beautiful, Lily. That's us. That's our family." The words hung in the confined space, innocent and devastating. Garrett cleared his throat, put the vehicle in drive with more force than necessary. "Lily, what did we talk about? Maya is our friend. She's staying with us temporarily for work. But she could stay forever." The logic was 6-year-old simple. There's lots of rooms. It doesn't work that way. Why not? Garrett had no answer for that. Maya watched the city pass outside her window, carrying Lily's drawing like a confession in her hands. They stopped for ice cream at Lily's insistence, small shop in Queens that Maya had gone to as a child. The neighborhood changed around them, luxury SUV conspicuous among older cars and working-class pedestrians. Garrett looked uncomfortable in the shop with its cracked linoleum and hand-lettered menu, but Lily was delighted. This is different. Different good or different bad? Maya had ordered for all three of them, knowing the counter staff would take one look at Garrett and overcharge out of principle. Different good. Lily attacked her cone with single-minded focus. They sat at a wobbly plastic table meant for people who didn't own penthouses. Maya watched Garrett navigate the experience with visible awkwardness. This man who commanded boardrooms reduced to uncertainty by soft serve and fluorescent lighting. You don't come to places like this. Not accusation, just observation. He met her eyes across the table, Lily humming to herself between them. No, I don't. Honesty rather than excuse. Should I? Probably not your scene. Maybe it could be. He paused. If I had reason. The implications settled between them while Lily finished her cone, oblivious to adult subtext. Maya understood what he was offering. Entry into his world in exchange for permission to enter hers. The negotiation people made when they wanted something more than temporary. Her father called as they were leaving. Maya answered while Garrett loaded Lily back into the SUV. "Maya, where are you?" "Queens, near the old neighborhood." "Can you come by? I'm making dumplings." She glanced at Garrett, who was watching through the windshield. "Can I bring guests?" "Always." Her father's apartment occupied the third floor of a walk-up that had been old when Maya was born. Narrow stairs, peeling paint, radiator that clanked like industrial percussion. Garrett carried Lily up, expression carefully neutral, but Maya saw him cataloging the differences between this world and his. Mr. Chen opened the door in work clothes, grease still visible under his fingernails despite scrubbing. Electrician's hands, a lifetime of manual labor written in calluses and scars. He looked at Garrett with the assessment working men reserved for those born into wealth. "Mr. Chen, this is Garrett Cross, my employer. And this is Lily." Garrett set his daughter down, extended his hand. "Thank you for having us." They shook, two men from different universes finding common ground in basic courtesy. Mr. Chen's apartment was small but immaculate, smelling of ginger and soy sauce and decades of home cooking. Photos covered one wall: Maya's mother before cancer, Maya's graduation from community college, various relatives captured in happier times. Lily was fascinated by everything, asking questions with the directness only children achieved. "Why is your apartment so small? Where's your TV? Can I help make dumplings?" "Lily, that's rude." "It's honest." Mr. Chen smiled. "And yes, you can help." The kitchen table became assembly line. Mr. Chen demonstrated folding technique, Lily's small hands attempting to mimic his weathered ones. Garrett stood awkwardly until directed to a chair, given dough to work. Maya watched 3 generations and 2 social classes negotiate dumpling construction,
finding unexpected harmony in shared task. Her father spoke while working. Your mother made the best dumplings. Used to say you could tell everything about a person by how they folded.
What do mine say? Lily held up a lumpy creation. They say you're enthusiastic. He adjusted her grip gently. Try like this. Garrett's dumplings emerged precise and careful, each fold measured. Mr. Chen studied them, then his daughter, then Garrett with calculation that made Maya nervous. You're very exact. Controlled. Occupational hazard. Control is useful, but not for everything. Mr. Chen glanced at Maya. Some things need flexibility. The conversation happened in subtext Maya could read fluently. Her father was doing what fathers did, assessing the man near his daughter, measuring intentions, delivering subtle warnings. Lily broke the tension. These are fun. Can we do this at home? Garrett's answer came carefully. We don't usually make our own food. We have someone who cooks for us. Why? Because I'm not very good at it. Mr. Chen's interjection carried weight. Not good or never learned? Both, probably. A man should know how to feed himself, feed his family. The emphasis on family was deliberate. Otherwise, he's dependent on others for basic survival. Maya recognized the criticism hidden in advice. Garrett clearly caught it too, color rising slightly in his face. You're right. I should learn. My daughter could teach you. Mr. Chen smiled at Maya. She learned when she was 10. Had to, after her mother died. The meal was simple and perfect. They ate at the small table, knees bumping, plates passed hand to hand. Lily chattered about school between bites. Garrett asked Mr. Chen about electrical work, showing genuine interest in technical details. Maya sat between her two worlds, watching them cautiously overlap. After dinner, while Lily explored the living room, Mr. Chen drew Garrett aside to the narrow balcony. Maya watched through the glass door, couldn't hear words but read body language. Her father's posture was confrontational, protective. Garrett's responses came quiet and earnest. The conversation lasted 10 minutes. When they returned, Garrett's expression suggested he'd been thoroughly assessed and wasn't certain he'd passed. The drive back to Manhattan happened in thoughtful silence. Lily fell asleep in her car seat, exhausted from the day's adventures. Maya watched the city transform around them, from working-class Queens to gentrified Manhattan to the exclusive Tribeca that Garrett called home. Physical distance measured in miles, social distance measured in lifetimes. Garrett broke the quiet as they parked. Your father asked what my intentions were. That's very him. I told him I wanted to keep you safe. And? He said you'd been keeping yourself safe long before I appeared, that if I wanted to be in your life, it should be because you wanted me there, not because I'd appointed myself protector. Maya absorbed this, recognized her father's wisdom. What else did he say? That I was clearly terrified of something, and that fear was no foundation for anything real. Garrett's hands gripped the steering wheel despite the vehicle being parked. He wasn't wrong. They carried sleeping Lily upstairs together, Maya supporting small legs while Garrett held her upper body. The girl barely stirred, the exhausted sleep of childhood. Her room was pure princess fantasy, pink walls, canopy bed, toys organized with care. Garrett laid her down gently, removed her shoes, covered her with a blanket embroidered with stars. Maya watched from the doorway as he kissed his daughter's forehead, lingered a moment watching her sleep. The love radiating from him was almost painful in its intensity, the kind of fierce protectiveness that came from having already lost one person he couldn't save. When he joined her in the hallway, his composure had cracked visibly. I can't lose her, Maya. She's all I have left.
You won't lose her. People keep saying that, but I lost Sarah, my parents, everyone I've. He stopped himself, shook his head. This is why I don't let people close. It's too dangerous. For them or for you? The question hit harder than she'd intended. Garrett flinched, then forced himself to meet her eyes. Both. They stood in the hallway outside Lily's room, close enough to touch, but maintaining careful distance. The penthouse felt too large suddenly, all its expensive emptiness pressing down. Maya thought about her father's words, about the drawing Lily had made, about electrical traps and business rivals and the impossible complexity of wanting things she had no right to want. I should go to bed. Early morning with Dan tomorrow. Garrett nodded but didn't move. Thank you. For today. For being good with her. She's easy to be good with. Not everyone thinks so. Sadness in his voice. Most people see her as obligation, complication, something to be managed by staff. Then they're idiots. He almost smiled. Almost. Good night, Maya. Good night. She made it 3 steps before he spoke again. She drew us as a family. Maya turned. Garrett stood silhouetted against Lily's doorway, backlit by the nightlight's glow. I know. That doesn't scare you? Terrifies me. Honesty felt like the only currency worth trading. But I'm still here. Something shifted in his expression. Hope, maybe, or recognition that they were both standing on the same cliff, deciding whether to jump. The week developed its own rhythm. Mornings with Lily and her tangled hair. Days working with Dan's team, tracking Marcus Webb's operation through digital shadows. Afternoons at school pickup, gradually earning cautious acceptance from other parents. Evenings in the penthouse, with a child who'd decided Maya was permanent fixture, regardless of adult uncertainty. Garrett worked impossible hours, but always returned for Lily's bedtime. They developed a routine. He'd read a page of the story, Maya would do character voices, Lily would giggle at both. Domestic moments that felt dangerous in their ordinariness, building foundation for something neither adult was ready to name. Dan's investigation closed in steadily. Marcus Webb had assembled a professional team, rented warehouse space in Red Hook, been preparing for synchronized attack at the investor conference. But he'd also been watching Garrett's personal life with uncomfortable attention. Photographs existed of Maya entering and leaving the penthouse, Lily at school, routes and schedules documented with precision that suggested violent intent. The Thursday executive meeting brought crisis to breaking point. Patricia Harmon had been present, taking notes as usual, when Dan dropped his evidence. She'd been Marcus Webb's inside contact. The access codes, the building schedules, the security protocols, all leaked through Patricia in exchange for significant payment and promises of position in whatever company rose from steel industry's ashes. Garrett's response was glacial. You're fired. Security will escort you out immediately. Patricia's mask finally cracked. You're going to lose everything, Cross. Your company, your daughter, your little mechanic girlfriend. Marcus has people everywhere. Get her out. The command came flat, absolute. Dan's team moved in. Patricia's parting shot echoed from the hallway. She's not safe. None of you are. The threat landed with weight it didn't deserve, or maybe deserved more than anyone wanted to admit. Garrett dismissed the remaining executives, left alone with Dan and Maya in the sudden quiet. We need to move fast. Marcus knows we're closing in. Dan nodded. We have his warehouse location. Team's ready to move tonight. Do it. And Daniel? Garrett's voice dropped lower. Lily doesn't leave the building without armed escort. Maya either. Already arranged. Maya should have protested the protection detail, Should have insisted she could handle herself.
But Patricia's words, "she's not safe," kept echoing.
Reminder that expertise with HVAC systems provided no defense against people who hurt others as profession. That night, Garrett returned to the penthouse earlier than usual, tension radiating from him in waves. Lily was already asleep, worn out from school and the extended bedtime story Maya had invented about mechanical dragons. He found Maya in the kitchen, drinking tea at the island, trying to settle nerves that wouldn't cooperate. Dan's team hit the warehouse. Empty. Marcus cleared out, probably got tipped that we had Patricia. So he's still out there. And angry. Garrett poured whiskey with hands that shook slightly. Angry people make desperate moves. What do we do? You don't do anything. You stay here, stay safe, let security handle. Maya's phone rang. Unknown number. She stared at it, some instinct screaming danger. Garrett saw her expression, moved closer. She answered on speaker. Hello? Miss Chen, male voice, smooth and cultured. We haven't been introduced. My name is Marcus Webb. Every muscle in Garrett's body went rigid. Maya's hand tightened around her phone. I have nothing to say to you. You should listen anyway. See, Garrett Cross took everything from me. My business, my reputation, my freedom. I spent 18 months in minimum security planning how I'd return the favor. Get to the point. The point is that Garrett cares about very few people. His daughter, and apparently you, which makes you both leverage. Garrett grabbed his own phone, texted rapidly, probably alerting Dan. Maya forced her voice steady. You're threatening us. I'm stating facts. Tomorrow is the investor conference. My team will ensure it ends in catastrophic failure for steel industries. But that's just business. The personal touch comes after. If you hurt Lily, I won't touch Lily. Marcus's tone shifted, became almost gentle. I'm not a monster, Ms. Chen. But Garrett needs to understand what loss feels like, what it's like to watch someone he cares about disappear. The call ended. Maya and Garrett stared at each other across the kitchen island, processing the threat's implications. Garrett's response came hoarse. You're leaving. Tonight. Dan has a safe house upstate, isolated, heavily guarded. I'm not running. This isn't negotiable. Yes, it is. Maya stood, met his eyes across granite and growing chasm. I'm not going to hide while you face this alone. Maya, please. The word broke on his lips. I can't protect you and end Marcus and keep Lily safe. I can't do all three. Then let me help. How? Frustration and fear mixed equally. You're a building engineer, not a... I know these systems better than anyone. If Marcus attacks the building tomorrow, you'll need me there to stop it. I need you alive more than I need building systems. The admission hung raw between them. Garrett's control was fracturing, the careful walls he'd maintained since Sarah's death crumbling under combined pressure of external threat and internal feeling. Maya moved around the island, stood close enough to touch, but didn't. Garrett, listen to me. We're stronger together. You, me, Dan's team. We can end this. But not if you push everyone away trying to shoulder everything alone. I lost Sarah because I couldn't protect her. You lost Sarah because someone murdered her. That's not the same as failing to protect. Feels the same, I know. She took the risk, reached up, cupped his face with grease-stained hands that had fixed 1,000 broken things. But you're not losing me. Or Lily. We're going to win this. He leaned into her touch, eyes closing briefly. When they opened again,
decision had been made, even though he clearly hated it. If anything happens to you, nothing will happen. Lily's voice cut through from the hallway. Daddy, I had a bad dream.
They stepped apart like guilty teenagers. Garrett went to his daughter, lifting her easily, carrying her back to bed. Maya followed, watching him comfort with the awkward tenderness of someone who loved desperately, but still doubted his competence. Mommy was in my dream. She was saying goodbye again. Garrett's voice broke slightly. It was just a dream, sweetheart. But what if she was real? What if she was trying to tell me something? Maya sat on the other side of the bed, hand finding Lily's small one. Sometimes dreams are just our brains processing feelings. They're not real messages. But they feel real, I know. I have dreams about my mommy too. They feel so real, I wake up thinking she's still here. Lily looked between them, this child who'd lost her mother and feared losing everyone else. Do you think our mommies know each other? In heaven? The question was too profound for midnight. Garrett struggled for response, found none. Maya squeezed Lily's hand gently. I think if there's a heaven, it's full of mothers watching out for their kids, making sure they're okay. Are we okay? We're okay. Garrett's voice steadied. We're going to be okay. They stayed until Lily fell back asleep. In the hallway, Garrett turned to Maya with expression that held too many emotions to parse. Tomorrow is going to be difficult. I know. If Marcus makes his move, we'll stop him. And if we can't, then we fail together. She touched his arm, felt tension thrumming beneath expensive shirt fabric. That's what families do, right? Face things together? His hand covered hers, grip almost painful. Is that what we are? A family? I don't know what we are, but Lily drew a picture of us holding hands. That has to mean something. It means she's going to be devastated when you go back to your life. Maybe I don't want my old life back. The words came before caution could stop them. Maybe I want this. Complicated and dangerous and absolutely insane as it is. Garrett pulled her closer, fast enough that she gasped. His forehead came to rest against hers, breath ragged. I can't offer you normal. My life is corporate warfare and enemies and a daughter who needs more than I know how to give. I grew up in a studio apartment with a single father who taught me to fix things because we couldn't afford to replace them. Normal left my vocabulary a long time ago. Maya. Shut up and kiss me already. He did. Desperate and inevitable, weeks of tension finally breaking. His hands tangled in her hair, hers gripped his shirt, and for 30 seconds, nothing existed except the two of them and this impossible thing they'd stumbled into. They broke apart, breathing hard. Garrett's expression cycled through desire, fear, determination. After tomorrow, when Marcus is finished, we'll figure this out properly. Promise? I promise. The investor conference happened in Steel Industries' main auditorium. 200 people assembled to hear quarterly reports and future projections. Maya watched from the security command center with Dan's team, monitoring building systems on multiple screens. Everything looked normal. Too normal. Garrett presented on stage, confident and controlled, giving no indication that he expected imminent attack. The investors listened, asked questions, seemed satisfied. An hour passed, then another. Maya started wondering if Marcus had abandoned his plan. Then the cooling systems spiked. Maya saw it instantly, temperature in server rooms jumping, climate controls going haywire, exactly the catastrophic failure she'd predicted. Her fingers flew across keyboards, trying to override the sabotage. But Marcus's team had done their work well. She was fighting defensive battle against someone who'd had weeks to prepare attacks. Dan, we're losing cooling. Servers will start failing in 10 minutes. Can you stop it? I'm trying, but I need physical access to the main junction. I can manually override from there. Too dangerous. Marcus could have people. We don't have a choice. Maya was already moving. Tell Garrett.
Keep Lily secured. I'll handle the systems. She ran through service corridors to the mechanical room where this had all started, tool belt bouncing against her hip, mind racing through solutions. The space was empty, machinery whining under strain it wasn't designed to handle. Maya reached the main control panel, started manual overrides. Temperature gauges began dropping. She'd caught it in time. Footsteps echoed behind her. Maya spun, expecting Dan's team. Marcus Webb stood in the doorway. Mid-50s, expensive suit, smile that held no warmth. Miss Chen, so dedicated. Garrett chose well. Stay back. Or what? You'll fix my air conditioning? He moved closer, no weapon visible but threat implicit. I need you to understand something. This isn't personal. You're just the most efficient way to hurt Garrett Cross. He'll destroy you for this. He already destroyed me. This is just returning the favor. Maya's hand found her multi-tool. Inadequate defense, but something. Behind Marcus, she saw movement. Dan's team positioning. Marcus hadn't noticed yet, too focused on her. Why tell me all this? Because someone should know the truth. Because Garrett took everything and called it justice. Because Dan's team moved. 3 seconds of controlled violence ended with Marcus on the ground, hands cuffed behind him. Career of revenge terminated before he could complete it. Dan helped Maya up. You okay? Fine, just another Thursday. The joke fell flat. Adrenaline was crashing, leaving her shaky and uncertain. Dan radioed the all clear. On the main floor, Garrett would be receiving news that the crisis was resolved, that Maya was safe, that Marcus Webb was finished. She made it to the service elevator before the reaction hit. Hands shaking, breath coming short, the delayed terror of what could have happened if Marcus had been armed, if Dan had been slower, if anything had gone differently. The elevator doors opened on the executive floor. Garrett stood waiting, having clearly abandoned his presentation mid-sentence. He crossed the distance between them in 3 strides, pulled her into his arms hard enough to hurt. Neither of them spoke. Words felt insufficient for whatever this was. Relief, recognition, the understanding that they'd both gambled and won, but only barely. When they finally separated, Lily stood behind him with a security guard, eyes wide. Maya, are you okay? I'm okay, sweetheart. The girl ran forward, wrapped herself around Maya's legs. Over her head, Garrett and Maya looked at each other, both recognizing that this, whatever they'd stumbled into, was real and complicated and utterly terrifying. The conference was canceled. Marcus Webb was taken into federal custody on terrorism charges that would keep him locked up for decades. Patricia Harmon negotiated a plea deal that earned her 5 years minimum. Steel Industries stock actually rose on news that a major security threat had been neutralized. That night, Maya expected celebration. Instead, she found Garrett silent and withdrawn, sitting in his home office long after Lily had gone to sleep. She knocked on the door frame, waited for permission to enter. He didn't look up from the paperwork he wasn't actually reading. Come in. You okay? You could have died today. But I didn't. Because you got lucky. Because Dan's timing was perfect. Because Marcus was too busy monologuing to kill you immediately. His hand shook slightly as he set down his pen. That's not skill, Maya. That's chance. We won. It's over. This is over. What comes next? He finally met her eyes. More enemies.
Different threats. Constant danger for anyone close to me. Maya felt the speech coming, recognized the shape of it. Don't do this. I have to. For your safety, for Lily's. He stood, faced her across the desk. You should go back to your apartment, your life, away from you. Yes. And Lily? I'll explain to her. She'll understand eventually. She's 6, Garrett. She won't understand. She'll just think another person abandoned her. Better abandoned than dead.
The cruelty was intentional, designed to push her away. Maya saw through it, saw the fear driving every word. But understanding didn't make it hurt less. This is what you do. When things get real, when people get close, you shove them away and call it protection. It is protection. It's cowardice. Her voice rose despite efforts to control it. You're terrified of losing people, so you lose them first. Preemptive grief. At least they're alive to be lost. The words hung between them, raw and true. Garrett's composure cracked completely, grief and fear spilling through cracks his control could no longer contain. I watched Sarah die, Maya. I held her hand while machines kept her body functioning, and her brain slowly swelled, and the doctors said there was nothing they could do. I felt her pulse stop. I had to tell 1-year-old Lily that her mommy was never coming home. I know. You don't know. He came around the desk, close enough that she could see tears he was fighting. You don't know what it's like to realize your choices killed someone you love. To live every day with that weight. To look at your daughter and see her mother and remember that she died because of enemies I made. That wasn't your fault. It was exactly my fault. And I won't make that mistake again. So what? You're going to live alone forever? Keep everyone at arm's length? Watch Lily grow up without anyone but nannies and staff? If it keeps her alive, yes. She needs more than alive. She needs loved. She needs family. She has me. And that's not enough, Garrett. You're not enough alone. Nobody is. The words hit like physical blow. He flinched, turned away, shoulders rigid. Get out. Garrett, I said get out. Go back to your apartment. Tomorrow you return to your normal duties. This, he gestured between them, was temporary. Now it's over. Maya should have fought harder, should have stayed and argued until his walls crumbled. But exhaustion and heartbreak had their own weight, and she'd learned long ago that you couldn't force people to accept love they didn't believe they deserved. Fine, but you're wrong. About all of it. She packed her duffel bag in numb silence. Mr. Whiskers went into his carrier without protest, sensing her mood. Maya left without saying goodbye to Lily, unable to face that small, hopeful face with news of abandonment. The subway to Queens had never felt longer. Her studio apartment greeted her with familiar emptiness, all its cramped limitations suddenly feeling less like home and more like retreat. She unpacked mechanically, fed the cat, lay in bed staring at ceiling cracks she'd memorized years ago. Her phone buzzed. Text from Lily, sent from Garrett's phone. Where did you go? Are you coming back? I miss you. Maya's hands shook as she typed. I miss you too, sweetheart. I'll see you soon. A lie, maybe, or hope she couldn't quite kill. Sleep came eventually, exhaustion overriding heartbreak. Maya woke at dawn to pounding on her door, desperate and wrong. She grabbed the first heavy object, a wrench, and approached cautiously. Through the peephole, Garrett, disheveled and wild-eyed.
She opened the door.
What?
Lily's missing. Someone took her from school. Dan's tracking, but Marcus had contingencies. He has partners. The words tumbled out, broken. I need your help, please. I need you. Every instinct screamed that this should feel like vindication, that she should demand apology, acknowledgement, begging. Instead, Maya just grabbed her tool belt and phone. Let's go get our daughter back. The ride to Dan's command center happened in Garrett's SUV through morning traffic that refused to cooperate with emergency. Maya gripped the door handle, watching him navigate with the controlled desperation of someone holding sanity together through sheer will. His shirt was half-buttoned, hair uncombed, the careful facade completely abandoned. Tell me everything. Don't leave anything out. His voice came mechanical, forcing function through terror. School called at 8:15. Lily never showed up to class. Security footage shows a woman in a nanny uniform picking her up at 7:40, claiming family emergency. Credentials checked out, paperwork looked legitimate. But it wasn't legitimate. Marcus Webb's sister, Anna Webb. We knew he had family, but didn't consider her a threat. Dan's tracking the vehicle now. Maya pulled out her phone, already thinking tactically. What leverage do they want? They haven't made demands yet. But Anna sent one message. He handed her his phone, hand shaking. Just this. A photo showed Lily in what looked like a warehouse, sitting on a chair, clearly scared but physically unharmed. No visible restraints. The background was deliberately anonymous, concrete, industrial lighting, nothing identifying. When did this come in? 10 minutes ago, right before I came to you. Why come to me? Dan's got a whole team. Because I need you. The admission broke something in his voice. Not as employee. Not as someone I'm protecting. As partner. As... He couldn't finish, throat working around words too significant for crisis moments. Maya understood anyway. Where is Dan now? Tracking the vehicle. He'll have location in the next hour. But Maya... His eyes left the road briefly, found hers. I was wrong. About everything. Pushing you away, thinking isolation was safety. I'm sorry doesn't begin to... Later. She cut through his guilt with the practicality he needed. Right now, we get Lily back. Then we deal with us. Relief flooded his expression, the temporary absolution of having a mission instead of just fear. They reached Steel Industries, descended to the secure basement level where Dan had established tactical operations. The command center looked like military installation transplanted into corporate infrastructure. Screens showed traffic cameras, satellite imagery, digital maps overlaid with tracking data. Dan stood at the center, coordinating 6 team members, phone pressed to his ear while typing with his free hand. He saw them enter, ended his call with efficiency. We have location, Red Hook Warehouse District, same area Marcus was using. Anna Webb's vehicle pinged 3 different traffic cams heading that direction. Garrett crossed to the display screens. Confirm she has Lily? 90% certain. Vehicle matches, timeline fits, and we have thermal imaging showing 4 heat signatures in the target building. 1 child-sized. What's the plan? Dan pulled up warehouse schematics, started marking positions. Standard extraction. My team enters from 3 points, neutralize hostiles, secure the girl. You stay here and... No. Garrett's interruption came absolute. I'm going. Boss, that's not... I'm going. You can coordinate my involvement or I'll go alone, but I'm not sitting in an office while my daughter is in danger. Dan looked at Maya, recognizing backup when he saw it. She stepped forward, studied the schematics with the professional assessment of someone who'd spent years reading building plans. This is old industrial construction, early 1960s by the structural design, which means
She zoomed in on the electrical system's overlay. Outdated wiring, probably still using aluminum instead of copper. Main junction box will be exterior mounted for code compliance from that era. Dan caught her direction immediately. You can cut power. More than that, buildings this old have mechanical ventilation systems independent of electrical. I can trigger fire suppression, create smoke, give your team cover without cutting your tactical gear power. That's... Dan paused, recalculating. Actually brilliant. How long would you need? 3 minutes to locate and access the systems, 30 seconds to implement. Garrett was watching her with expression that mixed pride and lingering guilt. It's still dangerous. Anna Webb might have perimeter security. Then I'll be careful. Maya met his eyes without flinching. You don't get to push me away and then decide when I can take risks, Garrett. I'm doing this. The use of his first name in front of his security chief marked territory, established relationship boundaries that had shifted permanently. Dan noticed, said nothing, but his slight smile suggested approval. Okay. Garrett's acceptance came easier than expected, evidence he was learning. We move together. Dan's team handles combat. Maya handles systems. I extract Lily the second she's clear. Agreed. Dan started issuing orders to his team. Assemble in 10. Full tactical gear. Non-lethal preferred, but authorized to escalate if necessary. Maya rode in the tactical van with 4 ex-military operators who treated her with the careful respect reserved for civilians doing dangerous things. They didn't question her presence, didn't offer unwanted protection, just included her in the briefing with professional courtesy. The leader, Jackson, 30s, scar across his jaw, reviewed roles. We breach simultaneously from north and west entrances. Rivera takes east with sniper position for oversight. Cross and Chen hold at staging point until building is secured. Garrett started to protest. Jackson's look shut him down. Sir, with respect, your job is extraction once we've cleared threats. You go in early, your liability. We're good at this. Let us be good at this. The van stopped 3 blocks from target. They moved on foot through industrial wasteland that smelled like rust and old oil. Red Hook warehouses standing like abandoned monuments to economy that had moved elsewhere. Mid-morning sun did nothing to warm concrete and steel that held winter in their bones. Maya peeled off at the staging point, alley with sightline to the target building's electrical junction. Garrett stayed with her while Dan's team positioned. The silence between them held weight of everything unsaid, everything that would have to wait until after. His hand found hers, squeezed once. Thank you for coming, for not making me beg. You were going to beg? I was on my knees the moment I realized she was gone. His thumb traced her knuckles. Pride is useless when you've lost what matters. Maya wanted to respond, wanted to catalog all the ways he'd been wrong and right and human. Instead, she just squeezed back, held on for 5 seconds that had to contain everything else. Dan's voice crackled through the tactical radio. All teams in position. Chen, you're clear to approach junction box. She released Garrett's hand, crossed open ground with tool belt bouncing familiar rhythm against her hip. The junction box was right where building codes from 1962 dictated, mounted on exterior wall with weathered protective housing. Maya opened it with practiced movements, found exactly what she'd expected. Old aluminum wiring, mechanical relays, fire suppression system that predated digital controls. I'm in. Ready on your signal. Stand by. 30 seconds of nothing. Maya's hand stayed steady despite adrenaline, years of working under pressure keeping her focused. She identified the specific circuits she needed,
Main power, backup lighting, fire suppression trigger.
Simple mechanical switches that would cascade into chaos once thrown. Execute. Maya cut main power first. The warehouse went dark, emergency lights flickering on after regulation 3-second delay. She triggered fire suppression next, pulling the manual override that building inspectors probably hadn't tested in decades. Somewhere inside, ancient sprinklers would be activating, alarms screaming. Gunfire erupted. Not the controlled pop of movies, but real combat. Sharp cracks that echoed off concrete and steel. Maya's stomach clenched. She forced herself to stay at the junction box, to trust Dan's team knew their profession. Garrett's voice came tight with restraint. Maya, status? Systems down. Fire suppression active. I'm clear. More gunfire. Then silence that felt worse. Maya's radio crackled. Building secured. 2 hostiles down, non-lethal. 1 fled out, south exit. Girl is safe. I repeat, girl is safe. Garrett was moving before Dan finished, sprinting toward the warehouse entrance. Maya followed, abandoning the junction box, tool belt clanking as she ran. They entered through north door into controlled chaos. Wet concrete from sprinklers, smoke from suppression system mixing with water, Dan's team securing 2 people on the ground. Lily sat on a metal chair exactly where the photo had shown, soaked from sprinklers, clearly terrified, but physically intact. She saw Garrett, and her face transformed from fear to relief to something that looked like fury. "Daddy!" He reached her in 3 strides, dropped to his knees, pulled her into his arms hard enough that Maya worried briefly about broken ribs. Lily was crying, words tumbling out between sobs about being scared and wanting to go home, and why did that lady take her? Then she saw Maya over her father's shoulder. "Maya, you came too!" The girl reached for her, small arms extending. Garrett released her enough that Maya could crouch beside them, complete the triangle. Lily's wet face pressed against her shoulder, one hand clutching Garrett's shirt, the other gripping Maya's tool belt like anchor. "I knew you'd come. Both of you. I knew it." The certainty in her voice suggested faith Maya wasn't sure they'd earned. But children believed in absolutes, safety or danger, presence or absence, family or not. Lily had decided they were family, and her conviction was powerful enough to make it real. Dan approached, tablet in hand. "Anna Webb is in custody. She's talking, gave up the location of 2 other Webb family members involved. FBI's picking them up now. This is finished, boss." Garrett looked up, still holding his daughter. "You're sure?" "Marcus Webb is going to federal prison for 20 years minimum. His sister and cousins are looking at conspiracy charges that'll keep them locked up almost as long. There's no one left with resources or motivation to continue this. Then it's over. It's over." The ambulance insisted on checking Lily despite her protests. Maya and Garrett sat in the back while an EMT examined her, finding nothing worse than mild dehydration and psychological distress. The girl chattered nervously through the assessment, processing trauma through words the way children did. "The lady said it was emergency and I had to come, but then we drove wrong direction and I got scared. I asked for my phone, but she said no phones. Then we went to that building and she made me sit on the chair, and I wanted you, but you weren't there, and we're here now." Garrett's voice stayed impossibly gentle. "You're safe. Nothing like this will ever happen again. Promise?" "I promise." Lily looked at Maya. "You helped get me, right? I heard water and alarms, and then Daddy was there." "I helped a little." She disabled their power and triggered the fire suppression system, which let Dan's team enter under cover. Garrett's correction carried pride. Maya's very good at fixing things.
and breaking them when necessary. The girl's arms went around Maya's neck, surprising her with a sudden fierce hug. "Thank you for breaking things for me." The phrasing was perfect child logic. Maya held her carefully, feeling small body still trembling with aftershocks. "Anytime, sweetheart." They kept Lily overnight at the hospital for observation, despite clean medical assessment. Trauma specialists recommended monitoring, watching for delayed psychological response. Garrett refused to leave her room, positioned himself in the uncomfortable chair beside her bed, like sentinel. Maya made coffee runs, coordinated with Dan on paperwork, fielded calls from concerned board members. The machinery of crisis response rolled on around them, while the actual crisis participants tried to process what had happened. 3AA found them in Lily's hospital room, the girl finally asleep under sedation the doctors had administered when nightmares kept waking her. Garrett happened moved from his chair, hand resting on the bed near enough to his daughter that she could reach him if needed. Maya returned from another coffee run to find him staring at nothing, expression haunted. "Hey." She touched his shoulder gently. "She's okay. You heard the doctors. She was terrified. I saw it in her eyes when we found her. That absolute fear of abandonment, of being alone." His voice came hollow. "I did that. My choices, my enemies, my—" "Stop!" Maya moved in front of him, forced eye contact. "Anna Webb did that. Marcus Webb did that. Evil people who chose revenge over humanity did that. You didn't kidnap your daughter." "I created the circumstances. You built a successful company and made enemies along the way. That's not the same as being responsible for their criminal actions. Sarah was murdered by people who wanted to hurt you. That's on them, not you." Maya grabbed his hands, held tight. "Garrett, listen to me. You can't control every variable. You can't protect against every threat. All you can do is show up, love fiercely, and trust that it's enough." His eyes were red-rimmed, exhausted beyond measure. "What if it's not enough? Then we try harder. Together." She waited for the word to land. Not you alone carrying everything, not me watching from outside. Together as family. He finished the sentence, looked at their joined hands. "That's what you want? This disaster, this complicated mess, this danger? I want you, and her, however that comes." Garrett pulled her down into his lap, buried his face in her shoulder, and finally let himself break. The sobs came silent but complete, 5 years of grief and fear and loneliness pouring out in the dark hospital room while his daughter slept and Maya held on like anchor. When he could speak again, voice came rough. "I was wrong to push you away. Wrong to think isolation was safety. Wrong to believe I could do this alone. I know. I'm sorry. For hurting you, for being a coward, I know." She stroked his hair, the gesture intimate and maternal and everything else. "We'll figure it out. But first we get through tomorrow, get her home, get back to normal." Normal. He almost laughed. What's normal anymore? Us. This. Whatever we build together. They stayed tangled in the uncomfortable chair, neither willing to move, both needing the physical confirmation that they'd survived. Dawn crept through the hospital window, sterile light replacing darkness. Lily stirred, opened eyes, saw them wrapped around each other, and smiled. "You're still here." "Always." The word came from both of them simultaneously. The girl's smile widened. "Good." They took Lily home mid-morning, paperwork finally cleared, trauma specialists satisfied she was stable enough for family care. The penthouse felt different somehow, less like expensive isolation, more like actual home. Someone had cleaned, stocked the refrigerator, left fresh flowers on the counter.
Dan's work, probably, ensuring they had sanctuary. Lily wanted to stay close, refused to let either adult out of sight. They made pancakes together in the kitchen, 3 people navigating around each other with the learned choreography of familiarity. Garrett tried to flip one and send it onto the floor. Maya retrieved it without comment. Lily giggled, the sound precious after 24 hours of tears. Daddy's really bad at cooking. He's learning. Will you teach him? The question held layers. Maya looked at Garrett, saw him waiting for her answer with naked hope. Yeah, I'll teach him. They ate on the living room floor, informal and easy, Lily between them chattering about school and friends and carefully not mentioning kidnapping. She'd processed trauma in her own time, with professionals helping. For now, she needed normal, needed her people present and solid. After lunch, Lily fell asleep on the couch, exhausted from stress and medication. Garrett covered her with a blanket embroidered with stars, stood watching her sleep with expression that cycled through relief and residual fear. Maya joined him. She's resilient. Kids are. I know. But I keep seeing her face in that warehouse. Keep thinking about what could have happened if, but it didn't. She took his hand, laced their fingers together. We got her back. She's safe. You can stop torturing yourself with hypotheticals. Not sure I know how. Then I'll teach you that too. He turned, pulled her close, rested his forehead against hers in the gesture that was becoming theirs. Move in with us. Officially. Not because of threats or temporary crisis. Because I want you here. Because Lily needs you here. Because The words stuck. Maya waited, gave him time to find them. Because I love you. It came out rough, unpracticed. I don't know when it happened, somewhere between the email and the music box, and watching you braid her hair. But it's real and terrifying, and I need you to know. I love you too. Simpler for her, less fraught. And yes, I'll move in. On one condition. Anything. You stop trying to protect me from everything. I'm not fragile. I'm not Sarah. I'm not someone who needs wrapping in bubble wrap. I just want you safe. I want me safe too. But I also want to live. Actually live, not just survive in careful isolation. Her hand came up to his face, thumb tracing the line of his jaw. We're going to have arguments. Take risks, make mistakes. That's what actual relationships look like. I'm not good at relationships. Neither am I. We'll figure it out together. The kiss was different this time. Less desperate, more certain. Promise instead of question. Commitment instead of crisis. They stayed wrapped around each other in the living room while Lily slept and Manhattan hummed outside the windows, and something new took root in space that grief had occupied too long. The weeks that followed developed their own rhythm. Maya moved her few belongings from Queens, clothes and tools, and Mr. Whiskers, who immediately claimed the penthouse as his domain. Her studio apartment sat empty, lease running out, neither of them suggesting she renew it. Work returned to normal gradually. Maya went back to her building systems, fixing problems that felt manageable after facing armed kidnapping. Garrett resumed his CEO duties, though he now left earlier, delegated more, prioritized differently. The board noticed, made approving noises about work-life balance and leadership evolution. Lily started therapy twice weekly,
processing trauma with professional who specialized in childhood trauma. The nightmares decreased slowly.
The clinginess persisted, but everyone agreed that was healthy. Seeking comfort from trusted adults was appropriate response. 3 months after the warehouse, they established new patterns. Morning braiding sessions with Lily, evening cooking lessons that Garrett was slowly, painfully improving at. Weekend visits to Mr. Chen's apartment, where Maya's father taught them all to make dumplings while dispensing grandfather wisdom. One Saturday afternoon, Mr. Chen cornered Garrett on the narrow balcony, while Maya and Lily worked inside. "You're good with her now. Better than before. Maya's been teaching me how to be present instead of just providing." "Good. Man needs both." Mr. Chen lit a cigarette despite Maya's perpetual disapproval. "You hurt my daughter when you pushed her away." "I know. I'm sorry." "Sorry means nothing. Different behavior means everything." He exhaled smoke toward the city. "You going to marry her?" The directness caught Garrett off guard. Yes, when the time is right." "Time is never right. You choose to make it right." The old electrician stubbed out his cigarette. "My wife got sick when Maya was 16. I thought I had time to say things, do things. Thought we had years. Had 9 months." His voice roughened. "Don't wait for perfect moment. Perfect doesn't exist." Garrett absorbed the advice, recognizing wisdom earned through loss. "Soon. I promise." "Good. She deserves happiness. You seem like you might provide that. Eventually." The qualified approval was pure Mr. Chen. Garrett accepted it as the gift it was. Inside, Maya and Lily had finished the dumplings, were now attempting to make bao from scratch. The kitchen was disaster of flour and filling, both of them wearing more ingredients than they'd successfully incorporated. Lily laughed at something Maya said, face transformed from the scared child of 3 months ago into someone who believed in safety again. Garrett stood in the doorway watching them, understanding that this was what he'd been missing. Not just the absence of loneliness, but the presence of joy. The casual chaos that came from people who loved each other, occupying shared space. Maya looked up, caught him watching, smiled. Flour streaked her cheek. Her hair was falling out of its ponytail. She looked absolutely perfect. "Come help. You need to learn bao." "I'll ruin them." "Probably." She held out a flour-covered hand. "Do it anyway." He joined them at the counter, let himself be instructed in folding techniques he'd never master, dropped filling everywhere, accepted Lily's patient corrections with humility he'd never shown in boardrooms. Outside the windows, Queens went about its business, indifferent to the small domestic revolution happening in a third-floor walk-up. The year turned. Snow came again, first flakes falling in early December. Maya stood at the penthouse windows watching weather transform the city, remembering another midnight when everything had changed. Garrett found her there after putting Lily to bed. "What are you thinking?" "That a year ago I sent you the wrong email and thought my life was ending." "And now?" "Now I'm standing in a penthouse that feels like home, in love with a man who finally stopped running, helping raise a daughter who calls me her Maya." She turned to face him. "Funny how mistakes work out. Best mistake I ever received." He'd been carrying something, she realized. Small box held carefully in one hand. Her heart rate increased despite knowing what was coming. "I had a plan." His words came slower than usual, nerves showing. Elaborate proposal, perfect timing, everything coordinated. Then I remembered what your father said about perfect moments. What did he say? That they don't exist. That you choose to make moments right instead of waiting for them to be perfect. He took her hand, the gesture familiar from dozens of smaller moments. "So I'm choosing now. This moment, with snow falling and Lily asleep and nothing particularly special except us. Garrett, let me finish before I lose courage. He opened the box, revealed simple ring, elegant diamond, understated, exactly her style. Maya Chen, you fixed my daughter's music box and somehow fixed my entire life in the process. You showed me that isolation isn't safety, and that love is worth the risk, and that families are built through choice, not just blood. Will you marry me? Will you choose this complicated, sometimes dangerous, definitely imperfect life with me and Lily? The answer was obvious, inevitable, perfect in its simplicity. Yes. He slid the ring onto her finger, hands shaking slightly. It fit perfectly, because of course he'd measured her tool belt or some other impossibly thorough gesture. They kissed while snow fell outside and Manhattan glittered below, and somewhere down the hall, their daughter slept safely. A small voice interrupted. Are you guys kissing again? They separated to find Lily in the doorway, pajamas slightly askew, hair tangled from sleep. She looked delighted rather than disturbed. We thought you were asleep. I was, but I heard talking. She patted closer, noticed Maya's ring immediately because 6-year-olds missed nothing. Is that pretty ring a yes ring? Garrett laughed. How do you know about yes rings? TB. And Amy's mom got one last year. So Maya's staying forever now? Forever. Lily's celebration involved jumping on the couch and demanding ice cream despite the late hour. They capitulated because saying no to ice cream felt impossible when celebrating engagement. 3 of them sat on the living room floor again, eating directly from containers, rules suspended for joy. Can I be in the wedding? Maya smiled. Of course. What do you want to be? Flower girl with a fancy dress! Done. Lily's expression turned serious. Will I call you Mommy now? The question carried weight. Maya glanced at Garrett, saw him giving her space to answer however felt right. You can call me whatever feels comfortable. Mom, Maya, whatever you want. I'm not replacing your mommy, I'm just my other mommy. Lily's logic was child simple and somehow profound, like having 2, one in heaven and one here. Yeah, like that. Satisfied, Lily returned to her ice cream. Above her head, Maya and Garrett exchanged looks that held everything. Gratitude for second chances, understanding of complicated families, commitment to building something real from broken pieces. The weeks before the wedding passed in controlled chaos. They kept it small, intimate, just family and close friends. Lily's input was taken seriously on everything from flowers to cake flavors. She chose pink for her flower girl dress with determination that brooked no argument. Mr. Chen walked Maya down the aisle in a small ceremony at the courthouse, followed by a reception at a restaurant in Queens that served the best dumplings in 3 boroughs. Garrett wore a suit that cost more than the entire venue, looked completely out of place, and didn't care at all. Dan served as best man, delivered speech about his boss finally learning to delegate and trust and stop trying to control everything. The guests laughed. Garrett took it gracefully, evidence of real growth. Lily gave her own speech, 6 years old and fearless. I'm happy because now Maya is official family, and Daddy smiles more, and we make pancakes together even though Daddy's still bad at it. The end. The applause was genuine. Maya's eyes were wet. Garrett's hand found hers under the table, squeezed 3 times, their private code for I love you that Lily had helped them develop. They honeymooned in Vermont for a long weekend, Lily included because leaving her felt impossible so soon after trauma. The cabin had a fireplace and snow
and absolute nothing to do except be together. They taught Lily to build snowmen, drank hot chocolate, read stories by firelight, built the foundation of chosen family through accumulated small moments. 1 year after the email, almost to the day, Maya woke early to snow falling again.
First significant snowfall of the new December, covering their world in familiar quiet. She stood at the bedroom window, watching weather repeat itself, thinking about cycles and second chances, and the strange way life corrected course. Her laptop sat on the desk, still open from the night before. On impulse, Maya opened email, started composing. From Maya Chen Cross to Garrett Cross. Subject, 1 year anniversary. Dear Garrett, 1 year ago tonight, I sent you the wrong email and thought my career was over. Turns out it was just beginning, along with everything else. You gave me family when I'd forgotten what that felt like. You showed me that love isn't about perfection, it's about showing up. You let me teach you to make pancakes, you're still terrible, and braid hair, getting better, and trust that tomorrow will come. I'm attaching a photo from our wedding, the one where Lily's laughing and we're both covered in cake because she accidentally smeared frosting everywhere. That's us. Messy, chaotic, absolutely right. Thank you for being brave enough to let me in. Thank you for Lily, who calls me her other mommy and means it. Thank you for building this life with me, one imperfect moment at a time. I love you, both of you, forever. P.S. Lily wants a dog. She's already named it. This is your problem now. P.P.S. Actually, it's our problem. That's what marriage means. P.P.P.S. I'm still not cleaning up dog accidents. You're Maya. She hit send, smiled at the private joke only they would understand, then noticed the attachment preview showed the wrong photo. Not the wedding cake disaster, but the original mirror selfie from her apartment. The black dress photo that started everything. Maya's hand hovered over the delete button. Then she thought about cycles and callbacks and the strange poetry of full circles. Left it attached. Let the beginning echo into now. 5 minutes later, reply notification appeared. From Garrett Cross to Maya Chen Cross. Subject, replace 1 year anniversary. I was already awake, watching you watch the snow, thinking about first snowfall last year, midnight deadlines, wrong attachments that became everything right. You attached the photo, the one I saved in a private folder I checked too often. The one where you looked confident and real and absolutely beautiful. I liked what I saw then. I love what I see now. About the dog? No. About us? Yes. Always yes. Come back to bed. Lily will wake up soon demanding pancakes, and we should have 30 minutes of peace first. I love you too. Both of you. Forever and beyond. GPS. We're getting a dog, aren't we? PPS. Yes, we are. Lily already won this argument before starting it. PPPS. You're cleaning up the accidents. Maya closed the laptop, returned to bed where Garrett was already reaching for her, half asleep. They tangled together under expensive sheets in a penthouse that had stopped feeling like prison and started feeling like home. Down the hall, Lily stirred, called out, "Is it pancake day?" "Every day is pancake day, sweetheart." The girl appeared in their doorway, hair wild with sleep, clutching the stuffed bear that went everywhere. "Can I make the batter?" "Of course." She climbed into bed between them, small body warm and solid and absolutely certain of her welcome. 3 people who'd found each other through accident and choice and determination that sometimes love was worth the fear. Outside the windows, snow continued falling. Manhattan woke slowly, indifferent to small domestic miracles happening in expensive towers. Somewhere in Queens, Mr. Chen was probably making tea, satisfied that his daughter had found happiness, even if it came wrapped in wealth and complications. They stayed in bed longer than they should, Lily chattering about school and friends and the dog she'd named, despite not having dog yet. Garrett's hand rested on Maya's waist, thumb tracing absent patterns. Her fingers were laced with Lily's, small hand trusting and sure. Eventually, hunger forced them vertical. The kitchen became familiar chaos. Flour everywhere, Garrett still overmixing batter, Lily adding too much chocolate chips, Maya supervising with the patient expertise of someone who'd learned to fix broken things and keep them working. The pancakes were imperfect, slightly burned, absolutely delicious. They ate at the island, passing syrup and stories, building the ordinary moments that made family real. Outside, the city moved on, indifferent. Inside, 3 people who'd chosen each other despite logic continued choosing each other again. Mr. Whiskers appeared, demanding breakfast with the entitlement only cats achieved. Garrett fed him, the man who'd once been too controlled for pets, now completely domesticated. The cat purred approval, accepting this new hierarchy. After breakfast, Lily insisted on building a snowman on the penthouse terrace. They bundled up, went outside into cold that bit and beauty that justified it. The girl directed construction with 6-year-old precision, demanding specific button placement and perfect carrot nose angle. Maya and Garrett worked together, muscles remembering motion from childhood. Their snowman emerged slightly lopsided, definitely imperfect, completely right. Lily declared it finished, took photos with Garrett's phone to show her grandfather later. Inside, they made hot chocolate the way Mr. Chen taught them. Actual cocoa, not packets, stirred with care. Drank it while watching snow fall from behind warm glass, city transforming below into something cleaner than it deserved. Lily fell asleep on the couch, exhausted from excitement. Garrett covered her gently, stood watching with expression that had softened from the controlled CEO of 18 months ago into something more human. She's happy. Yeah. Maya joined him, leaned into his side. We all are. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, for something to go wrong. Things will go wrong. That's life. She turned in his arms, met his eyes. We'll fight, make mistakes, have bad days. That's what real looks like. I'm not good at real. You're learning. She kissed him, soft and certain. We both are. The afternoon stretched into evening. They ordered dinner because cooking felt like too much effort, played board games that Lily won through questionable interpretation of rules, read stories before bed, voices blending in the familiar ritual. When Lily finally slept, Maya and Garrett returned to their bedroom, exhausted in the good way that came from full days. They lay in darkness, hands linked, listening to the building settle around them. Thank you. His voice came quiet. For not giving up on me when I was being an idiot. You weren't being an idiot. You were being terrified. Same thing sometimes. Maybe. She rolled toward him. But you figured it out. We figured it out. Together. Together. They fell asleep tangled around each other, snow still falling outside, their daughter safe down the hall. Tomorrow promising more of the same beautiful ordinary that they'd built from broken pieces. The email sat in both their inboxes, digital evidence of full circles and second chances, wrong attachment that became right answer, mistake that became foundation. accident that became everything. Some messages were meant to be sent. Some people were meant to find each other. Some families were built through blood, and some through choice, and the best ones held both. Maya Chen Cross and Garrett Cross and Lily Cross. Family by choice and effort, and the kind of love that shows up even when it's hard. Building pancakes and futures, and the ordinary, extraordinary life that happens when people are brave enough to try. Outside, the snow kept falling. Inside, 3 people kept choosing each other. And somewhere in the digital cloud, an email attachment waited. Reminder that the best things often started as mistakes.